Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yasoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Radha Shama Sundar Radha Shama Sundar Radha Jaya Gauranita Jaya Gauranita Gauranita Jaya Gauranita Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Nitya Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitya Gaura Hari Bol Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
So we're going to read Bhagavad Gita. We'll start out with Om Jnana Timirandasya Ganajana Shalakaya Chakshumilitam Jena Tashmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamlam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagara Raganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Visakamvitam Cha E Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gorange Radhe Vrindavanishware Rishabhanu Sutadevi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhischa Kripasindu Bhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we're reading from the Sri Bhagavad Gita, chapter 17, text 17. So there is no purport, so I'll read the translation myself. We're not going to respond. We'll do the responding to 18. Shradaya paraya taptam tapastatri vidam narai apalakankshibir yuktaya satvikam parichakshate. This threefold austerity performed with transcendental faith by men not expecting material benefits, but engaged only for the sake of the supreme, is called austerity in goodness. So before I go to the next one, it's pretty clear. The threefold austerities performed with transcendental faith. That's spiritual faith. That's faith beyond this material world. So you're doing some austerity, just like chanting japa is an austerity. So you do that with faith. That's transcendental faith. The faith is coming from guru, sadhus, and shastra. And by men not expecting material benefits. Very important point. I'm not doing it so I can get something material back, but I'm doing it because it's pleasing to Krishna and it's what I should be doing. But engage only for the sake of the Supreme. I'm doing it for his pleasure. It's called austerity in goodness. Now, before I go to the next one, any questions on that one? Because there's no purport, I'm not going to explain, get into it too much.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So how one can find out if he is engaged just for the sake of the Supreme?
Well, it's by what you're thinking. You got to be honest with yourself. Why am I doing this? And we'll get into other austerities right after this one to see if you're doing it for any of these reasons. You're doing it in the next verse out of pride. You're doing it because you're proud. I can do all this for the sake of gaining respect. I'm doing this so people respect me. That's in the mode of passion, in the next verse. So you have to be honest with yourself. Why am I doing this? I mean, ultimately, if you're doing it for your own purification, that's in the mode of goodness. If you're doing it to become purified, if you're doing it so you can become a pure devotee and go back home, back to Godhead, that's also in the mode of goodness. You're not doing it for any material reason. You're doing it for spiritual reasons. So, I mean, everybody has to decide themselves, why am I doing it? I know some people who do things because they want to show that they're great devotees. And generally, almost everyone sees right through it and they just look foolish. But, somebody might be doing some activity just to try to show others how great they are. I mean, why would anybody, especially in this country, perform these austerities? No illicit sex, no gambling, no intoxication, no meat, fish, or eggs, chant so many rounds a day, hear classes, read books, do all these things. I mean, read transcendental literatures. Why would anybody do this for any length of time? Just to get some people to think they're great. Anyway, we're going to have to go on with the next verse because I think that will explain more other ways people perform these things. If you're doing it for your own purification, then that's also a mode of goodness or transcendental.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
So this next verse, everyone can repeat. Satkara mana pujartam.
Satkaramana
Oh, I got a
pujartam.
lively audience here today.
Satkaramana pujartham.
Tapo nambena chaivayat.
Tapodhamena chayvayat.
Kriyate tad iha proktam.
Kriyate tadiha praktam.
Rajasam chalam adruvam.
Rajasam chalam adruvam.
Satkaramana pujartam.
Satkaramana pujartam.
Tapodambena chaivayat.
Tapodhamena chayvayat.
Kriyate tadiha proktam.
Kriyate tadiha praktam.
Rajasam chalam adruvam.
Rajasam chalam
adruvam.
Sattkaramana pujartam
Satkaramana
pujartam
pujartam.
tapodambena chaivayat
Tapodambena chaiva vayat.
Kriyate tariha proktam
kriyate
Kriyate tadiha praktatam.
Rajasam chalam adruvam
Rajasam chalam
chalam
adruvam.
adruvam.
Satkaramana pujartam
Satkaramana
pujartam
pujartam.
tapodambena chaivayat
Tapodambena chaiva yat.
kriyate tadiha proktam
Kriyate tadiha
proktam
praktatam.
rajasam chalam adruvam
Rajasam chalam adruvam.
Satkaramana pujartham
Satkaramana pujartam.
tapodambhena chaivayat
Tapodambena chaiva yat.
kriyate tad iha proktam
Kriyate tadiha praktam.
rajasam chalam adruvam.
Rajasam chalam adruvam.
Satkaramana pujartham
Satkaramana pujartam.
tapodambhena chaivayat
Tapodambena chaiva yat.
kriyate tad iha proktam
Kriyate tadiha praktam.
rajasam chalam adruvam.
Rajasam chalam adruvam.
Satkaramana purjatam
Satkaramana pujartam.
tapodambena chaivayat
Tapodambena chaiva yat.
kriyate tadiha proktam
Kriyate tadiha praktam.
rajasam chalam adruvam
Rajasam chalam adruvam.
Satkaramana purjatam
Satkaramana pujartam.
tapodambena chaivayat
Tapodambena chaiva yat.
kriyate tadiha proktam
Kriyate tadiha praktam.
rajasam chalam adruvam
Rajasam chalam adruvam.
Satkaramana pujartham
Satkaramana pujartam.
tapodambhena chaivayat
Tapodambena chaiva yat.
kriyate tadiha proktam
Kriyate tadiha praktam.
rajasam chalam adruvam.
Rajasam chalam adruvam. Satkaramana pujartam.
Satkaramana pujartam
Tapodambena chaiva yat.
tapodambena chaivayat
Kriyate tadiha praktam.
kriyate tadiha proktam
Rajasam chalam adruvam.
rajasam chalam adruvam.
Satkara,
Satkara,
respect.
Respect.
Mana,
Mana.
honor.
Honor.
Puja,
Puja.
and worship.
and worship
Artam,
Artham.
for the sake of.
For the
for the
sake
sake
of.
of
Tapaha,
Tapaha.
austerity.
Austerity.
Dambena,
Dambena.
with pride.
with
Pride.
Da,
Ta.
also.
Also.
Eva,
Eva.
certainly.
Certainly.
Yat,
Yat.
which.
Which.
Kriyate,
Kriyate.
is performed.
Is
is
performed.
performed.
Tat,
That.
that.
That
Ha,
Iha.
in this world.
In
in
this
this
world.
world
Proktam,
proktam
is said.
Is said.
Rajasam,
rajasam
in the mode of passion.
in the mode of passion.
Shalam,
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 flickering.
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 Adruvam,
Adruvam,
temporary.
temporary.
Translation. Penance performed out of pride and for the sake of gaining respect, honor, and worship is said to be in the mode of passion. It is neither stable nor permanent. Sometimes penance and austerities are executed to attract people and receive honor, respect, and worship from others. Persons in the mode of passion arrange to be worshipped by subordinates and let them wash their feet and offer riches. Such arrangements, artificially made by the performance of penance, are considered to be in the mode of passion. The results are temporary. They can be continued for some time, but they are not permanent. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Kauravani Pacharane Nevasesa Sunyavadi Pastachade Satarane Satkara Mana Pujartam Tapodambena Chaivayat Kriyate Tariha Proktam Rajasam Chalam Adruvam. Penance performed out of pride and for the sake of gaining respect, honor, and worship is said to be in the mode of passion. It is neither stable nor permanent. So now we're going into different austerities and penances. First was transcendental, which austerities you perform with transcendental faith. Faith is very important. You have to have faith. By men not expecting material benefits, which is the opposite of the mode of passion. They're expecting material benefits. In the mode of goodness or transcendental, but engage only for the sake of the supreme. The mode of passion, there's nothing to do with the supreme. It's just to show off. In the mode of goodness, it's called, that austerity is the mode of goodness. And in the mode of passion, it is said to be in the mode of passion. And interesting, where in the mode of goodness, you can go on and on. There's one verse or Prabhupada's quotes where he says that the non-devotees, talking about devotees and non-devotees, that the non-devotees have no good qualities. Now, this is something, I'm going to just give you what my understanding or realization is of this, because there might be a lot more to it than what I'm about to say. But we see people, they seem to have good qualities, but it says that that the devotees have all the good qualities of the demigods, and the non-devotees have no good qualities. So they seem to have these good qualities, many people. Of course, many people seem like they don't have them, but many of them, it appears that they do have good qualities. So why is it said that they don't have good qualities? So my understanding, or this is just my understanding, and maybe other people have more reasons, is because it's not permanent. It's there. But when things get real bad, then you get to see what the people are really like. Whereas for the devotees, no matter how bad it gets, they still have these same good qualities because they have those qualities. The others are exhibiting. It's easy to be nice when everything is wonderful. You have a good family, you have plenty of money, you have so much that you give in charity, you can do something, you seem like a nice person. But take everything away, and then you get to see what people might be really like. I can only give one example. There's probably many examples, but I can give one. Is there was like a caravan or the wagon trail. They had a bunch of wagons going west, and the reason we even know about this, because one of the persons had kept a diary every day of this trip, which was really good that they did, or even no one would know any of this. But they went through so many difficulties, and at the end, many, and they were they were mostly Christians, very religious Christians. But at the end, many of them, not all of them, but many of them became very barbaric and did some horrible things just to save themselves and or to try to save themselves. They all wound up dying, but they had this diary to see how it all what happened, and it just shows that these people weren't genuine. If you're a genuine devotee, some of them may have been, but many of them weren't. And their qualities were just on the surface, their good qualities. So here, in the devotees have these qualities. Now, someone may be performing penances out of pride, and they may appear to be like someone in the mode of goodness, someone who's transcendental, but it's not going to last. Their true nature is going to come out eventually, sooner or later. But in the mode of goodness, I mean, if you look at the Goswamis, they were always transcendental. They, no matter how difficult anything was, there was nothing too difficult, anything they can do for Krishna. And they performed austerities. They set us a great example. So we're not even trying to do that many austerities. But that's one way you can tell the difference between austerities in the mode of passion and austerities in the mode of goodness. In the mode of passion, it's not going to last, or penance. So for the sake of pride. Now, so I'm going to go over the purport. You don't have to put it on the screen. Sometimes penance and austerities are executed to attract people and receive honor, respect, and worship from others. This is actually very common. People do things, even not even austerity. They may give in charity for the same reason, or they may do austerity. They may do so many different things for the same purpose, to get name and fame, to attract people, to get followers. So someone might pretend to be a very religious person. We've seen so many in nowadays and in the most recent past, where people come here from India and they perform austerities and some penances, and they get some followers, and then they wind up falling down with some of their female followers. Because it just can't last. And maybe it goes to, I don't know what they think, but they can't continue in the mode of passion, but you can continue in the mode of goodness and on the transcendental plane. So they want to attract people, so they perform some austerities to get attention. So persons in the mode of passion arrange to be worshipped by subordinates and let them wash their feet and offer riches. I don't know if Srila Prabhupada is thinking of anyone in particular when he's writing this, because he specifically mentions let them wash their feet and offer riches. So such arrangements artificially made by the performance of penance are considered to be in the mode of passion. The results are temporary. They can be continued for some time, but they are not permanent. So it's artificial, it's not real. It's there and it's gone. It's illusion, it's Maya. I mean, it's not that it's not real, they didn't perform it, but it's not genuine austerities or penances, because they can't maintain it. Okay, before I go on to the next verse, which should be the last one I do, because this is all dealing with the same particular subject, penance and austerities in the mode of goodness or transcendental, in the mode of passion, and next is the mode of ignorance. But before I go to the mode of ignorance, does anyone have any questions on the transcendental goodness or the passion austerities and penances?
Oh, I have a question from what you said before, Pyari. You said that if people have good qualities, seemingly if they're not devotees, that it doesn't last. But that's not entirely true. I mean, I know a lot of people who have a lot of good qualities who are not devotees. And
Yeah, well, you see,
it's not necessarily temporary. Like my neighbor is such a kind and wonderful person. She's always helping people a whole lot more than I am, and she's generally, that's her nature, but she's not a devotee. She's an atheist.
okay, so what, I know another atheist that seems very nice too. So what does it mean that they have no good qualities?
That's my question. What does it mean?
Well,
in one sense, you're right. It's not permanent for her.
What?
This is the verse. There is a verse.
Oh, okay, let me
So it
read the
is
verse.
Shastra.
It says, okay, this is from the Srimad Bhagavatam. This is found by my secretary. So by 5:18:12. All the demigods and their exalted qualities, such as religion, knowledge, and renunciation, become manifest in the body of one who has developed unalloyed devotion for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva. On the other hand, a person devoid of devotional service and engaged in material activities has no good qualities. Even if he is adept at the practice of mystic yoga or the honest endeavor of maintaining his family and relatives, he must be driven by his own mental speculations and must engage in the service of the Lord's external energy. How can there be any good qualities in such a man? And there is a purport. As explained in the next verse, Krishna is the original source of all living entities. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 15:7, wherein Krishna says, Mamai Vamsho Jiva Loke, Jiva Bhuta Sanatana, Mana Shastanindriyani, Prakriti Stani Kashati. The living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. Due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the six senses, which include the mind. That's the end of the verse. All living entities are part and parcel of Krishna, and therefore, when they receive their original Krishna consciousness, they possess all the good qualities of Krishna in a small quantity. When one engages himself in the 9 processes of devotional service, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Bandhanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atma Nivedanam, Bhagavatam 7:523, one's heart becomes purified and he immediately understands his relationship with Krishna. He then revives his original quality of Krishna consciousness. In the Adi Leela of Chaitanya Charitamrita, chapter 8, there is a description of some of the qualities of devotees. For example, Sri Pandit Haridas is described as being very, very well behaved, tolerant, peaceful, magnanimous, and grave. In addition, he spoke very sweetly. His endeavors were very pleasing. He was always patient. He respected everyone. He always worked for everyone's benefit. His mind was free of duplicity, and he was completely, I don't know what happened here. Completely, I gotta go back. I don't know how to work this thing. It's a machine. It's not a book. His mind was free of duplicity, and he was completely devoid of all malicious activities. These are all originally qualities of Krishna, and when one becomes a devotee, they automatically become manifest. Sri Krishna Das Kaviraj The author of Chaitanya Charitamrita says that all good qualities become manifest in the body of a Vaishnava, and that only by the presence of these good qualities can one distinguish a Vaishnava from a non-Vaishnava. Krishnadas Kaviraj lists the following 26 good qualities of a Vaishnava. So these are the qualities of a Vaishnava. He is kind to everyone. He does not make anyone his enemy. He is truthful. He is equal to everyone. No one can find any fault in him. He is magnanimous. He is mild. He is always clean. He is without possessions. He works for everyone's benefit. He is very peaceful. He is always surrendered to Krishna. He has no material desires. He is very meek. He is steady. He controls his senses. He does not eat more than required. He is not influenced by the Lord's illusory energy. He offers respect to everyone. He does not desire any respect for himself. He is very grave. He is merciful. He is friendly. He is poetic. He is expert. He is silent. And now this is commentary by Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakur on the same verse. That was Prabhupada's commentary. Now this is Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakur's commentary, which Prabhupada reads before writing his commentary. This verse praises the devotees who attains his position by bhakti, attained through association, mentioned in the previous verse, with who would not hear the pastimes of Mukunda, where there is niskama, and in brackets, a kinchana, bhakti to the Lord. The devatas live in that place completely with all qualities like dharma, jnana, and vairagya. He becomes filled with all the devatas. This means that by service to the Lord, all the devatas are served, or the presiding deities of the senses, such as Rudra, ego, reside there with all good qualities and no bad qualities. Thus, the bad qualities of pride arising from ahankara do not arise. How can the qualities without fault, the great qualities arising from bhakti, reside with the non-devotee? If good qualities such as knowledge of scripture are present in a non-devotee, they coexist with bad qualities like envy and hatred. Such a person chases material pleasure or what is non-existent with the desire for happiness gained through position, etc. There's still a little bit more of Vishwanatha Chakravarti's comment. Or the presiding deities of the senses in the material world live with bad qualities in material people, since the devatas must deal with samsara. Let me read this again. Or, the presiding deities of the senses in the material world live with bad qualities in material people, since the devatas must deal with samsara, but they do not dwell constantly with the jnanis, absorbed in contemplating oneself as of one, but they do not dwell constantly with the jnanis, absorbed in contemplating oneness of the Atma. They tremble in fear, thinking, we will die today or tomorrow in the company of these ungrateful people who want to destroy us after getting knowledge from us. They dwell constantly in the devotees who distribute spiritual knowledge, relishing the sweetness of the Lord with all good qualities. We are like crude iron, being material, but becoming spiritual. By contact with Krishna, we become followers of Krishna, having attained knowledge of the Lord's form and qualities. They continually relish the sweetness of the Lord. And that's another quote. With that devotee's association, we can cross over death at least. At least, it says. I would think at last, but it says at least. This is what they conclude with bliss and astonishment. The rest of the verse would be explained as before. So that's Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakur's comments are a little not as clear for us as Srila Prabhupada's.
Where were you reading from, Pyari?
Oh, this is from the Srimad Bhagavatam,
Canto
5:18, 5th canto, chapter 18, verse 12.
It's a common verse Prabhupada quotes a lot. Yasyasti Bhaktir Bhagavad
Yeah.
Gita.
Yeah, I didn't read the Sanskrit, but yeah, Prabhupada does quote it a lot. Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavati kinchana savai gunais tatra samasate sura harav abhanktasya kuto mahadguna manoratena sati davato bahir. I remember him saying about this mano. Yeah, that's the mind.
Chariot of the mind.
Chariot of the mind, right?
So it's
That is-
5:18:12.
Carries you away.
Okay, so anybody who wants to ask that same question or agree with Gita Mala, read that, and maybe you can tell me what it means.
But with all those qualities that you described, that's like of a perfect devotee, not even an
Yes,
aspiring
yes.
devotee.
But you become that way by associating with devotees and by following the instructions of the devotees. Following instructions of your guru, following what the scripture says, and associating with devotees. And you get those qualities.
But
You
I
wanna
was
get
thinking,
those qualities, you associate with people who have those qualities.
but I was thinking that even though like my neighbor might have good qualities, her good qualities are not helping her reach a spiritual goal. So in that sense, that's not a good quality, so to speak.
Yeah, you could look at it that way. I look at it that she's got them now. How long are they going to last? With devotees, good qualities last life after life.
Yeah, those are more permanent, so to speak. Yes.
Anyway, that's just my. It is.
But generally speaking, you know what I'm talking about. Sometimes it can look like as if devotees do not have such good qualities, and
Yes.
people like my neighbor have like wonderful qualities and are
Right.
kind and helpful and always ready to help.
I remember
Whereas
quoting.
devotees may not be as helpful sometimes as we might want them to be, and
I-
look like as if they don't have such good qualities.
Yeah, I remember saying it seems like lots of times the personalists seem impersonal, and the impersonalists seem very personal. They're really caring, they're kind, but everything is one. If you met years ago, there was a lot of impersonalists, and they seemed so nice. And the devotees have just got so much to do. They're in the mode of passion. They got to do this. They don't have time
for that matter, even Christians, like they're very helpful. If you're in trouble, if you're going through a divorce or something, they have all these, they help them, so they're always trying to help people
devotees
in
in our
trouble.
community are like that.
Right.
Devotees here help other devotees when they have some problems. They really come forward and not even asking. It's just their natural qualities. They help other devotees. There are other temples that have devotee care and they have it managed, and we don't have that, but we have people who just automatically do it without having to organize it.
There was someone who said they wanted to organize it, but I don't know what happened to that.
Well, then,
She went to California for a while.
Yeah.
but there's people doing it, and they are definitely doing it here in our congregation. They're really good, and they're really caring.
Yeah, I agree. We should do it a little more formally, perhaps.
Why does it doesn't have to be so formal, as long as it's being done?
Well, if it's, but then people don't know who to go to, so to speak. It might be being done, kind of, but.
It has to be done very carefully.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what happened with her.
Mahadana?
Yeah, what did they do wrong?
No, just not
Oh.
anybody. She probably doesn't want
Yeah.
just anybody to go. And, don't want to overboard.
Yeah, it has to be some devotee in charge who's very sensitive to a person's needs. And some people just are not going to want anybody and everybody to come. They just, you know. Anyway, we're thinking of somebody in particular who we're actually helping someone. And I don't think anybody else is, and I don't think she wants anybody else.
Yeah, that's a highly sensitive case.
Yeah. But I think you have to be sensitive to a person. I was talking to a devotee in Alachua, and he, like when he's leaving a body, when devotees are leaving a body, lots of times devotees come and they chant. And I said, I'd want devotees to be chanting when I'm leaving my body, if it's possible. And he doesn't. He just wants like maybe a couple of people only, or not, just having Prabhupada tape or something. Anyway, so you're not going to do the same thing for two devotees, even leaving their body. It's not even the same thing they want. Of course, I wouldn't want just anybody leading kirtans, but I'd want whoever's the purest to lead the kirtans. So
Sometimes you don't get a choice.
You decide. What?
You might not get a choice.
I know, but whoever's the purest there at the time. So we're going to get one of those things that some kind of instrument that measures.
I was just going to say the same thing.
Measures their effulgence, and whoever has the brightest effulgence.
Well, that's the mercy of having these phones. You can have Prabhupada chanting anywhere, anytime.
Yeah. Figure out how to use it. Okay, so I didn't go to the next verse. I don't have to go to the next verse, but does anyone have any other questions? I think that's an important verse in the Bhagavatam that we should learn, because it does say that, where is it? Is this it? All the demigods and their exalted qualities, such. Okay, I'm just going to get to the part. Okay. Well, the last sentences are talking about the materialist. Even if he, okay, let's go back. On the other hand, a person devoid of unalloyed devotion for the Supreme Personality. On the other hand, a person devoid of devotional service and engaged in material activities has no good qualities. So we have to, number one, accept what the Shastras say. And then we could try to figure out how they don't have good qualities. I wouldn't try to figure it out by discussing it with them. But, we have to try to understand, what does it mean they have no good qualities? Even if he's adept at the practice of mystic yoga or the honest endeavor of maintaining his family and relatives, he must be driven by his own mental speculations. So it's the mind.
That statement makes sense.
Yeah. Good thing to do. This is not a good thing to do. So he's following his mind, and that can change. So therefore, it's not permanent. The mental speculations go one way one time, and then they change. And must engage in the service of the Lord's external energy. How can there be any good qualities in such a person? So if he's just following, in other words, I think behaving like this is good, so I do it. But then my mind can later on say something else, and I think, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I remember just today, I was talking to Nityananda at the temple, the new temple, and I don't remember, I said something like, yeah, I was just trying to be nice to see how it felt. He said, well, how did it feel? He said, it's not, he said to me, it's not really cracked. It's not, it's not what it's not what it's cracked up to be. It's not as, it's not as great as they make it sound, being nice. Of course he was joking, but anyway, he has a good sense of humor. And he's painting the temple. So if you want to drive and see outside of the temple, he's painting. And there's somebody on this call that's also painting the temple. And I don't know what everybody else is doing. Okay. So any other questions?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances, all glories to Prabhupada. May I make a comment?
Well, first tell me who you are.
This is Srinivas.
Okay, you got a sore throat?
Maybe.
That's a little hoarse.
Yeah, it's getting cold.
Just make a comment.
Yeah, so I guess you explained two things. One is the qualities may be temporary. And the second one is it really comes out when that person is put in difficult situations. I think you kind of summarized everything in these two. Even the verse that you read from Vishnu Chakra's Thakur, I just opened my book. I just tore apart the packing on 5th canto. I never read it. Vishnu Chakra's Thakur's. So it seems here Vishnu Chakra's Thakur is saying, I mean, we consider devatas, they predominate our senses. There are devatas for different senses who are the governing demigods. And they don't like to live with the jnanis and yogis. They want to live as devotees because they themselves are working, towards liberation, some of them. So therefore, it's natural for them not to like to be associating with those who are not devotees. And even if they live with them, it's kind of saying that they don't want to stay with them forever. They're trying to get out because those people are driven by their own goals, may not be guided by Shastra. And I was thinking particularly the verse that we read, austerities performed as a duty, that is in the mode of goodness. But a lot of these people that we're talking about, atheists and stuff, they don't have a proper concept of duty from the Shastra. So then what is their motivation? Usually it's probably this honor, respect, and all these things. And they're driven by that. And they may be helping with those motivations. If they come and sit in a temple and chant Hare Krishna, nobody glorifies them. But rather if they go out, spend those 3 hours instead of chanting your 16 rounds, couple of hours, go help somebody, they may praise you and you may get some honor. So there, the motivation of those kind of people may be in the mode of passion. But whereas devotees, they are doing it as a duty, therefore that's in the mode of goodness, the austerity that they are doing. That's my comment, Prabhu. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I think that someone may have good qualities who's not a devotee, but it's just because they think that that's the way they should be. And it says it's the speculation of the mind. And they're going to be doing what they think is right, but they're going by their mind, not by any real bona fide authority. People listening to their mind may do crazy things because they think that's what they should do. So they're not developing, they don't really have good qualities. There was one person who was very religious in his own way. This is a religion in the mode of ignorance. It's a true story. And God told him to kill people, different people. He wanted them killed. This is, of course, in his mind. It's not according to Shastra. It's not according to Guru. It's not according to Sadhu. He's just in his own mind. He's thinking this is what he should do. And they couldn't figure out this person because there was no link between one person and another. There was not, he just was killing him because he felt God's telling him this. Of course, he's crazy. And they caught him. It was a horrible, horrible thing. But God, according to him, told him to kill that, who was most dear to him, who was his son. And he killed his son, and then he got caught. But then that's a true story. So people on the Manaritaina, on the chariot of the mind, you can think anything. It doesn't matter. It can change. You don't know. It's not based on anything. So those are not good qualities. They're good qualities now. They may even last your whole life if you continue thinking that way. But eventually you're going to think another way, and you don't have those qualities. And another thing that you said was it's another reason why we should engage in devotional service, because then the demigods won't mind being with us and doing their service. They don't like to do it with the yogis and the mystics, but they like doing it with the devotees. So to please the demigods, make it easier, make their job easier, we should become devotees.
But what do you mean by devatas of the senses? Either Pyari or Srinivasacharya Prabhu.
Well, he was saying that they, if I'm not mistaken, they're in charge of different senses, which
Yes.
I wouldn't have said it that way if that's what he meant. Maybe you can explain it.
Yes, Prabhu. That's what there are for senses. There are predominating deities.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And like you said, Pyari, like they are mentally speculating because they're atheists. The fact that they're atheists itself is mental speculation.
Right. They got that one wrong.
Exactly.
But if you think about it as an atheist, if there is no God, where does right and wrong come from? It's all mental. Why shouldn't we kill people? What's wrong with that? There's no God. There's no purpose to life. Why does it matter? Oh, because we want to live nicely together. So now they're basing some rules on how we can live nicely together. But to me, you have this and I don't have it and I want it, so I should take it. Nothing wrong with that. Why would that be wrong? If there's no God, there's no reason for anything. There's no laws. We make our own laws just so that we can all enjoy sense gratification as best we can. So we make some laws for that.
Well, she believes in religion is the opium of the masses. That's the communist theory,
Does she believe in evolution or something?
No, not at all.
So no purpose to life.
No purpose to life except be kind and helpful.
It's pretty depressing.
I know. I just don't understand what she believes in because she's such a nice and kind and person otherwise, but I can see her confusion though, because when her sister dies, she thinks she just died. She doesn't know where she went or what happened to her, nothing. But at the same time,
go anywhere because she's dead.
Yeah, but I can see her mourning over her, but it's really strange talking to her. But she's very helpful, kind, and willing to help anytime, It's really, really.
And you do the same for her.
Yeah, I do the same for her, yeah.
You give her a shower.
Oh, she's been pretty much my, whatever I cook, she eats.
That's why she's nice to you.
Yeah.
No, not at all. I was telling one of the devotees, I had a home program at my house. It was winter time and my driveway was a sheet of ice. But I was cooking up a storm for about 25 devotees or so that were coming to my house. And I had I could not take care of my driveway at all.
So you were cooking up a storm for 25 devotees to smash around in your driveway.
But I didn't even think, how are they going to drive up my driveway? And Ida saw that my driveway was a sheet of ice. She's a tiny lady and she's just 1 year younger than me, so old. She's not a spring chicken. So she went and bought a bag of salt. And on that icy driveway, she could have broken her back on that driveway. She put salt all over that driveway. So by the time the devotees came in the evening, the driveway was clean, completely clean. So nobody would do that. No, no one who's no.
The real test would be if she broke her back and if she sued you.
No. So she's Rosie the Riveter. She's very careful. She fixes things herself in her house. She's quite capable of doing things. But anyway, what I'm saying is she can be that nice, but at the same time, I just can't convince her any other way, about God.
She may one day. Maybe that's why,
I have known her for 25 years. If I haven't convinced her in 25 years, I don't think so.
You never know. That's a small period of time in eternal existence.
Yeah. She's on a deathbed. She might listen.
I don't know.
Well, we don't know, but
she's pretty healthy. So who knows who'll be on the deathbed first.
Well, if she keeps salting your iced up driveway.
She knew you were having guests over for like a.
She did. That's the only reason she did it. She said, like, how are you going to have guests over?
She's making spiritual advancement.
Yeah, she's doing service.
Yeah, she did some service for devotees. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's nice.
I'm taking prashad.
Yeah, so certain people, that's all you can do. Don't bother trying to preach to them.
Yeah, she constantly eats prasadam. She loves Indian foods, or what she considers as Indian food.
Right, that's good. Okay, so we have 5 minutes left. Any other comments or questions? I'm going to read this last verse, short purport. Penance performed out of foolishness, with self-torture, or to destroy or injure others, is said to be in the mode of ignorance. Purport. There are instances of foolish penance undertaken by demons like Hiranyakashipu, who performed austere penance to become immortal and kill the demigods. He prayed to Brahma for such things, but ultimately he was killed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. To undergo penance for something which is impossible is certainly in the mode of ignorance. So, I mean, in one sense, Prabhupada says impossible is a word in the fool's dictionary. But there are certain things that are impossible, like becoming God. That's impossible. You can't become God. Becoming immortal in this present body is impossible. You are already immortal, but you're not this body. So penance performed out of foolishness, with self-torture, or to destroy or injure others is said to be in the mode of ignorance. So they torture themselves. Of course, we know Hiranyakashipu, he stood on the tips of his toes for 125 years. I don't know if that's where ballet began, but this was millions of years ago. And he performed these austerities, becoming immortal. What's his name? Rikasura. Rikasura offered his flesh in the sacrificial fire to Lord Shiva to get a benediction that whosever head he touches will crack into pieces and they'll die. Now, that's a benediction he wanted so they can injure and kill other people. That's certainly in itself in the mode of ignorance. And the austerities he was performing, cutting flesh off his body. And Lord Shiva didn't come. He's offering his flesh. And then he decides, I'm going to offer my head. And then Lord Shiva will come. And he took a bath and he took a big sword, machete, whatever. And he put his head like over the fire and was going to cut off his own head, offer it into the fire, and Lord Shiva appeared. And then he asked, of course, for the benediction. Whosever head he touches will crack into pieces and they'll die. Lord Shiva gave him the benediction because he said he'd give him whatever he wants. And then he wants to touch Lord Shiva's head and kill Lord Shiva so he can enjoy his wife, Parvati. And there's the only way he got out of that was Vishnu came as a brahmachari, as a brahmachari, disguised as a brahmachari. And he talked to him, and he convinced him to touch his own head. You know, basically he told him that Lord Shiva is one of the ghosts now. He did something. What did he do? Lord Shiva is now the leader of the ghosts and hobgoblins. He doesn't have any potency anymore to give you such a benediction. And if you think he actually did, what you should do is touch your own head, and when it proves to be false, you should kill that liar, Lord Shiva. So I thought that was a good idea.
That makes sense.
And he touched his head and it cracked into pieces. But so these are penances in the mode of ignorance. Okay, questions. We got 1 minute. Oh, we don't have any minutes, but if you want, I got a quick question, we'll take it. No, nobody has any questions about
One question, Prabhu. What mode is austerity?
what?
What is the mode of that austerity where it is performed for some material gain? You know, people perform some vrata and everything to get some material benefits.
That's passion, mode of passion.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not ignorance. Ignorance is really bad. It's like, it's just what it says. You're really an idiot, ignorant. People do. They accept religion as irreligion as religion. It's more ignorance. What else you were going to say? I thought you were saying something else.
No, Prabhu, that's all. Thank you.
Okay.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, this is Malati Priya. You were saying, where are the others? Some of us are watching on Facebook Live, so we are there.
Looks like we lost Pyari Prabhu.
I was thinking it was me. It's not me, huh?
I froze him, I think.
All right, I think
You
we
sure
can.
did, Maltripriya.
Yeah.
Quite a few did.
There he is. He's back.
What?
We lost you for a while. Did you say something to Maltripriya?
Yeah, when did they lose me? How long ago?
After Maltripriya asked the question, we lost you.
Well, I just want to apologize to all our Facebook fans. I didn't include them in the chanting because maybe they were chanting and I didn't hear them. And I mentioned how Gita Mala was the only one who responded at first, but she responded very quietly. And then after I commented, she responded louder and everyone else responded.
And Maltripriya just said she's the one who froze you.
She's the one who what?
Froze you.
Oh. Did she do it on purpose? And what mode of nature would that be? Okay, let's offer obeisances to Srila Prabhupada, and to all the Vaishnavas.
Namo Namaha.
Anantakoti Vaishnavant ki jai.
Thank you all so